Snow levels are some of the most diverse areas that video games have to offer. On one side of the coin, you have the beautiful winter wonderlands, defined by their cozy feel and gorgeous visual style. On the other, you have the frigid icy tundras, which serve as a means of ramping up difficulty through mechanics such as slippery floors and reduced visibility. These frozen landscapes vary greatly in their presentation, so one question remains: what makes a good snow level? How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the Loading Zone, where today we are joined once again by a very special guest. I'd like to give a warm welcome to none other than Wolf Chaos Sorn.
Hey, how's it going?
It is great to have you here today. Now, one thing we both have in common is that we're both fans of 3D platformers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're also both fans of kart racers, adventure games, I'd imagine. But one thing that sort of transcends all of these genres is that ice levels are very controversial.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, the amount of love and hate that they get is so, I wouldn't say bewildering, but it's like polar opposites. You have people that absolutely love snow levels and people that absolutely despise them.
Yeah, they're like the Marmite of video games.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. I could honestly just go on about snow levels for like the longest time because they are, honestly, there are some snow levels that are some of my favorites and some that just make me want to rip my hair out, so I get it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's hard to find a good balance between the two.
Yeah. I feel like a snow level can either be one of the best in the game if it's executed well, or one of the worst if the developers screw it up. And with that in mind, what do you think goes into making a good snow level?
Definitely atmosphere. Like, the music has to go along with it. There has to be like a peaceful, relaxing vibe to it with xylophones. I think it really captures the essence of being out in the cold. The gentle melodies and soothing instrumentation goes really, really well with just walking around in the crunchy snow. And also, I think when it comes down to it, snow levels have to offer you a change of pace and a change of scenery. I like snow levels that are either super comfy to like just walk around, especially in like RPGs where you're in like a snowy town, you can just walk around and people are having like hot coffee in their house.
Oh yeah.
It's just, that's a good vibe.
It gives you that cozy feeling inside.
Oh yeah. But I do think snow levels also have the ability to be difficult without it being overtly frustrating, because there's a great deal of elements that you can put into a snow level, especially ice level, with the slippery surfaces and what have you.
Right, yeah.
It just comes down to how do you balance that? How do you make it not super frustrating? Because it can ramp up the difficulty quite a bit, but at the same time, snow levels can either just be like a change of scenery where you just get to relax for a minute. I know a lot of RPGs do that.
Yeah, it's interesting because there is a lot you can do. Like you said, in terms of those relaxing areas, they don't tend to use the snow gameplay elements like the slippery floors, the adverse weather conditions, as much as, say, like a platforming level would. With those, it's more about just the vibes, the relaxed nature.
Yeah, like in Kingdom Hearts 2, The Nightmare Before Christmas, it's just a very nice change of scenery, and I love how it looks, but it doesn't really offer too much when it comes to like gameplay elements. It's just like a nice background, but it's still, the music kind of gives it that nice, cool atmosphere because you do most of the fight, the boss fight at night. And again, I think when it comes down to snow levels, if you get that atmosphere right, it really leaves a good impression for the player.
And I think it's not always like a cozy atmosphere either, because in other situations, snow levels have the potential to feel very, very isolated and distant from everything else. You feel alone in this vast, snowy tundra. I think the Valley of Repose from Pikmin 2 was one of the levels that does this really well, because you just sort of crash land in an icy area at the very start of the game, and that's not something that a lot of games do. You don't often get thrown straight into a snow level.
Yeah, you don't.
While it doesn't really affect the gameplay too much, I don't even think it has ice physics as such. Just that sense of aloneness when you land there for the first time, you get separated from Louis, and you have to slowly reunite on that first day. To me, it's just one of the strongest openings of any video game, and I think the wintry atmosphere has a big role in that.
Yeah, isolation's also very key element to, I think, a lot of snow and ice levels. Like for the Snowpeak Ruins in Twilight Princess.
Oh, yeah.
Very isolated. It's definitely hostile. You know, there's creatures in there. What are they called? The chofos.
Uh-huh.
Those, like, big pointy guys. But I remember, like, that area being very, very cold. And, like, I think they did a lot of fun puzzle elements with the ice and snow. And there's a Yeti at the end, which I really... Well, there's 2 Yetis at the end that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, isolation is such a good way to get the player enveloped within that moment.
Oh, definitely. And you know what? You telling me about this is just reminding me that I still need to play Twilight Princess, because that's one of the very few Zeldas I haven't managed to beat yet. I need to get around to that.
Oh, highly recommend. It's maybe in my top 5? I have to think on that. We'll come back to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of good Zelda games, so, you know, top 5 is high praise if it manages to sneak in there.
Oh, yeah.
I guess on the subject of Zelda, another one that I played recently, and I think you've mentioned in the past, is the Ice Palace from A Link to the Past.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Definitely one of my favorite snow levels.
Mm-hmm. It's a really unique dungeon in that game, isn't it? There's a lot of verticality to it.
Oh yeah, like there's a lot of, obviously, you know, the slippery floors and whatnot, but like it also feeds into the puzzle elements because you can fall through the tiles, it takes you down to certain places. There's so many good elements that entire palace where they really make the player think. And I like when games do that, where they just send you in there and it's, I wouldn't say trial and error, but they trust the player to figure things out. And that's what I really like about the Ice Palace.
Right. It's like you're leading the exploration. The game isn't holding your hand.
Yes.
One thing that's also good about it is that I think the game prepares you well for it, because prior to the Ice Palace, if you do the dungeons in the intended order, I believe you go to the Skull Woods beforehand, and there you pick up the Fire Rod, which is really good for taking care of the enemies in there. Mm-hmm. Or if you explore the world thoroughly, you might even pick up the Bombos Medallion, which can set all the enemies around you on fire. So I think just the game giving you those items in preparation for the dungeon was a smart move and helps you get through it.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. I like that the game rewards you for exploration in ways that you don't expect and without it telling you explicitly. Like, oh, if you do this, this will get easier. Like, no, you just kind of happen upon it. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you go to the dungeon to get the fire wand, but at the same time, like, again, that's what I like, is you get to do things at your own pace and figure out where to go next. I always went to get that fire wand first because I knew the Ice Palace. That thing. I died so many times in there, I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly, when I played through, I enjoyed the dungeon for the most part, but there were some parts of it, like there's one room in particular that sticks in my mind, where you have an icy floor and there's a fire bar spinning around, and you have to try and get down a staircase.
Yes!
And yeah, the icy physics combined with trying to get down the staircase and avoiding the fire bar, man, it's a bit of a nightmare.
Oh yeah. When you said there was one part that stuck out to you, I'm like, I feel like I know what this is. It was exactly that.
Yep. Oh man, I think the boss is a pretty cool one there as well. I may have forgotten the name. Is it Cold Stare or something? It's a big eye thing surrounded by ice.
Something like that. I haven't played A Link to the Past in a very long time. That was my first Zelda game, but like I played the mess out of that when I was younger. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I haven't played it in a long time, so I don't remember the exact name, but I know what boss you're talking about.
Yeah, with him, generally I think you just have to use the fire rod to melt him down slowly and then you can attack the eye. Mm-hmm. But if you think outside the box a little bit, and if you use the Bombos Medallion instead of the fire rod, one hit of that thing gets rid of the entire shield and then you're just free to attack him.
Yeah.
I think it's just really cool how the game rewards you for, using your brain a little bit.
Yeah, that is, I think, one of A Link to the Past's biggest strengths, is that they just completely trust the player to figure out stuff. And it rewards you for kind of just using your noggin, like, oh, maybe if I try to combine these two things, like fire with ice and more fire with ice, let's see what happens there. Mm-hmm. And it completely demolishes that boss, essentially.
Yep.
Very, very good game. Very good game.
Yeah, honestly, up until very recently, it was one of those games that I needed to play but still hadn't, because I'd been slacking on the 2D Zeldas, but I'm working on that now.
Good. Did you end up beating A Link to the Past?
I did, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
100%. Every item, every heart piece. secured them.
It's such a good game. I ended up getting A Link Between Worlds, that's it. I ended up getting that, and that was a nice nostalgia trip.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
It's very interesting to me. I know we're talking about snow levels, but I just want to like shout this game out for having the same map and a lot of the same secrets that A Link to the Past had, where it was like, oh, if you remember where to put this bomb, it's the same place as in this game. And I don't know, I thought that was really neat and cool.
It's not exactly a Zelda game, but it might as well be. Another snowy area that comes to mind for me is the one from Star Fox Adventures. Bit of a controversial game, but I'm personally a fan of it.
Oh, same here.
I think it does catch quite a bit of flack, and some of it is deserved, yeah, but there's a good game buried beneath that. And the snow area, I think there's 3 main parts of it at least. You got the Ice Mountain, the Snowhorn Wastes, and the Dark Ice Mines. Yeah, they're one of the best parts. The Ice Mountain at the beginning is pretty fun because I think you teleport there with the Warp Stone, and then instantly you pretty much have to just race a bunch of sharp claws down a mountain in a snowmobile type of thing. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty thrilling way to kick things off. You jump off the waterfall. That's where you first reunite with Tricky the Triceratops, who's your companion for the whole game. And from there, yeah, you go into the Snowhorn Wastes. I can't remember the specifics because it has been a while, but I'm pretty fond of it.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. Whenever you're going down the mountain in that like snowmobile, it's very fun and exhilarating. And I always found it funny that like, because whenever you go down the mountain, there's like only 2 sharp claws going down it. But like if you kill them, more come. And I always found that kind of funny. It's like, oh, I guess they're just popping up from the sky now. All right, cool, great.
Yep.
But I do remember getting a little stuck in the Snowhorn Waste with Tricky because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with you, and I remember like getting stuck and having to go onto like GameSpot to look up what I'm supposed to do. But I do really like, again, the atmosphere of that place because it's very cold. Like you actually feel cold yourself while going through it. And I mean, there's not many creatures around. And I mean, you have like your enemies and stuff, but from what I remember, there aren't really that many creatures to interact with because it's definitely like more like a barren wasteland than anything.
I think there are a few of the big mammoth dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's pretty sparse.
Right.
I also think what goes hand in hand with the atmosphere, the visuals, is the music, because in Snowhorn Wastes, it's not really an upbeat track, but at the same time, it's not sad or morose. It's sort of that happy medium where there's a rhythm to it, you can vibe to it, but it doesn't get you too excited, and there's sort of a chime sound in the background. I don't know what it is about that instrument in particular, but it enhances that feeling of solitude.
It kind of gives that vibe that if you were to drop something in the middle of a room where no one's around, like it kind of echoes.
Exactly that, yeah.
Yeah, it gives you that like you're there by yourself type feel. I haven't listened to the Star Fox Adventures soundtrack in a very long time, so I'll have to re-listen to that because I do want to cover it one day.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite games growing up, and then like I fell into the whole, oh, I see everyone complaining about on the internet, maybe it wasn't as good and blah blah blah, so I started to like agree with them without having played it in a very long time. But now I'm just like, no, I liked it as a kid. Is it still good? I gotta replay it, but I loved it.
Yeah. A lot of the music in that game, it goes for the ambient feel. There's not a lot of tunes in there that I'd consider to be head boppers as such, but
yeah,
it's really good to throw on when you want to relax or study or get some work done. It's good productivity music.
Oh yeah. Speaking of ambience, like that can also work really well in a lot of snow levels. Like in Phendrana Drifts from Metroid Prime, the music to that, it's like this eerie, creepy song that really makes you feel alone, and you don't know like what's around the next corner. You really just don't know. It gives you this uneasy feeling that really sets that area apart from the entire game, in my opinion. It's such a good set piece, and it really just sets you on that journey to figure out where you're supposed to go, what to do, and the isolation in that moment. I know we keep talking about isolation, but like in that game, you really feel alone there because you're just in this like cold area, and the music just really skyrockets it in my mind.
Yeah. And to bolster that feeling of loneliness, in Metroid, for the whole game, you've pretty much got no one to talk to. There's no NPCs, it's just enemies that you have to mow down and shoot through. So when you combine that with the feel of an ice level, it reinforces that idea that you really have nothing out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Another level that goes for a more atmospheric feel is Crystal Caves from Donkey Kong 64.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of unique in the realms of snow levels, because it doesn't go for a directly snowy look or an icy look. It's a cave with ice crystals, and it's dark, it's kind of moody, the music is slow and relaxing, but that relaxing nature is contrasted with some ominous undertones in the music, and I think that's cool because that almost represents, I don't know if you remember, one of the biggest parts of the level was this big kosher enemy who stood at the top of the level, and he'd have a big mallet and smash down stalactites onto you.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that happened, the music would always go really frantic, really panicky. It would just happen randomly, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the normal music foreshadows that in a way.
Yeah, I remember playing Donkey Kong 64, and like that level, I really liked how it looked. You're definitely right about the music, like whenever it would ramp up with... I completely forgot about that guy until you mentioned him. I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
It also reminded me of, like, I love the Donkey Kong games, but it reminded me of Gorilla Glacier in Donkey Kong Country.
Oh yeah.
So like, I kind of like connected the two, and I'm like, oh, this is just like that, except, you know, not as super icy and slippery.
Mm-hmm.
But also Donkey Kong 64. Fun game. I know it gets a lot of flack lately, but I still stand by that. It's a fun game.
Oh, me too. Like, I think if you're going for 100%, then sure, you might have to backtrack a few times, but if you're just playing through the game, having a good time, then you'll enjoy it.
Oh yeah, backtracking is that game's worst enemy. Like, it just is. But they filled it to the brim with collectibles, which I like, but it's definitely one of those games you have to, if you want to 100% complete it, you have to sit down for like a week to do that.
It does take dedication. I'm happy to say that. I've done it before.
Did it take a week?
Probably more. But it was worth it. I'm glad I did it in the end.
Oh, absolutely. Very good game.
I didn't hate myself for completing it afterwards, and I don't hold anything against the game.
Oh yeah, good.
And you were talking about a Gorilla Glacier from Donkey Kong Country as well.
Yeah.
And in preparation for this video, I actually played through that one very recently. At least I got halfway through it. I think I played Snow Barrel Blast, Slip Slide Ride, I think it's called, the one with the slippery vines.
Yeah.
And that's as far as I got.
Yeah. Snow Barrel Blast is probably my favorite snow level, if I'm being honest. I just like how, obviously there's slippery floors, but like I really like that the further you go on, you get further and deeper into this snowstorm, and it really messes with the visuals, and the difficulty ramps up. And there's a couple secrets in there, like you can actually skip the entire difficult part, but I really like that it really tests the player's reflexes. And like you said at the beginning, like we're both platforming fans, so I really enjoy that difficulty spike, but at the same time I see how that can be extremely frustrating. But with that said, like I love the music for it, I love the visuals, I love that it really tests you, but I also love that there are ways to just skip it for people who figure out, oh, I can just fall down here and I get in this barrel and it shoots me all the way to the end. Great.
You know, I did that accidentally on my first time playing, and that was just super cool. I was just zooming past everything, did not know what was ahead of me, or like what was above me, did not have to worry about it, just got to the end of the level.
And that's a big thing that I really like with Donkey Kong Country, is like they just have random things like that all over the place that just skip entire levels, and I don't know, it adds to that exploration feel that you didn't really see too much in a lot of 2D platformers. You occasionally did, like say Super Mario World, but Donkey Kong Country I feel like did it very well in pretty much all their entries. And then with Gorilla Glacier, the music for Gorilla Glacier is so relaxing, like the xylophones, it's so good. It is one of my favorite music tracks of all time. It is a rather difficult level, I would say, especially because you're just sliding around the whole time.
Yeah.
With that said, like it really sticks out with, again, as you talked about Crystal Caves, it has that crystal look to it, and I think it really sticks out because of that. But at the same time, I do think it's one of the more difficult levels because of all the sliding. I guarantee a lot of people don't like that level because of all the sliding that happens, because your momentum really just propels you either too fast or it doesn't propel you enough, because you have to like move back and move forward, or you try to like stop yourself and it just doesn't work out too well.
I feel like the Donkey Kong Country games, they're already heavily based on precision platforming, and when you've got the ice physics, that just increases the need to be even more precise.
Oh yeah, and it changes the internal clock too, because you don't get to jump whenever you're used to jumping. You have to like jump quicker, you have to do it really messes with the timing a little bit, but then once you get the hang of it, it becomes a lot better, and then you go to the next level and it's no ice, and then you have to fix your brain again.
Yep. You did mention the music, and I believe it was David Wise who composed the music for the Donkey Kong Country games, and he always kills it. No matter which game he makes music for, it's guaranteed to be straight bangers. Another game he composed for was Diddy Kong Racing, also another kind of Donkey Kong game there. Although the music there and the snow tracks take a very different approach to the ones we've discussed so far in the podcast, because unlike Snow Barrel Blast and Crystal Caves, they're just really upbeat, really happy, and I just love how bouncy they are.
Yeah. Bouncy, I think, is like the best way to describe those songs. It's just like, I get the song stuck in my head quite often, especially for Walrus Cove. Like, that song just gets stuck in my head, and I just find myself moving to it randomly, because it's one of those songs that like you would think would get on your nerves, but it doesn't. It never overstays its welcome.
Yeah, it's magical, honestly.
Oh yeah, and Walrus Cove, even though it feels a little short, I do love the little loop-de-loop that they do.
Yep.
Like, it just, that was so cool back in the day. It's like, when you're a kid and you're doing a loop in like a video game, it was just fantastic. And Frosty Village, I really like Frosty Village, because I like that you were like going down this hill and you saw all these houses like submerged in snow. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely cozy, despite the music pumping you up a little bit as you're like driving around. Very nice looking level.
Yeah, honestly, I like how it's set in the night time and you have the little lamps lighting the whole place up. It's a cool take on a winter level.
Oh yeah, very good time.
And to me, what impresses me the most about Diddy Kong Racing's snow tracks and just its tracks in general is the fact that even though all four of these tracks, so I think it's Everfrost Peak, Walrus Cove, Snowball Valley and Frosty Village, even though they all share that snow level theme, they manage to feel completely distinct from each other. They all have their own identity, and they take the theme of a snow level and shape it in a different way.
Yeah, I think that's actually like a big credit to Diddy Kong Racing, because like, while they all have to do with snow, they all definitely do have their own look, their own feel. And it's really interesting to see like how different they are just within the same game. It kind of goes to show like the type of atmosphere, again, going back to that type of atmosphere you can have within a level, and how you can use the environment around you to completely change the player. Like, for instance, whenever you go to Walrus Cove, they have a frozen lake where you, if you end up hitting it, you bounce off of it.
Oh yeah.
And it just completely ruins your momentum. I find the way that Rare made snow levels to be so interesting back in the day. Especially, one of my favorite snow levels is Freezeezy Peak in Banjo-Kazooie.
Yep.
It is one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite 3D platformer snow level, with like the giant snowman, all the polar bears, the little kids that want their presents and everything. It really, that entire level I really like, including the frustrating snowmen that would like throw.
Oh gosh.
I hated those things, and I was always so bad at killing them, because you have to hit the X's on their hats.
Yep.
And it'd always be like too high or too low, and if you missed, you'd get hurt. And then like as soon as the iframes were done, you had another snowman just pelting snowballs at you again. They
always seem to hit you, no matter how you try to dodge them, no matter how you try to move. Like, I swear, they must have some kind of aimbot or something.
Right? But such a good level. It really encapsulates, I think, like a Christmas snow vibe.
It does.
Despite it not really saying anything about Christmas.
Like you said, it's also one of my favorite snow levels in any platformer, and just levels altogether. As far as platforming worlds go, Freezeezy Peak has just got to be high up there for me. Very high tier. I just love how the snow and the Christmassy theme is so baked into the level design. Like, you couldn't just swap out the icy water for lava and call call it a lava level because there's so many elements of it, like the walrus who lives in his little house, like you said, the polar bear family who also want Christmas presents, the Christmas lights that you have to save to light up the Christmas tree, the big snowman with a scarf that you have to climb up. It all just marries together perfectly to create such a wonderful level.
Yeah, it works so well with its surrounding parts, where everywhere you look, it just oozes personality. It just really encapsulates what I want a snow level to be. From the characters that you interact with, from the level design, from the environment. It just perfectly does everything so magically that it's so good. It's just so good. I wish I could come up with better words to describe it, but it is, honestly, it's masterfully done.
It's called Freezeezy Peak for a reason, and that's because it's the peak of level design.
Right.
Whenever I go back to play Banjo-Kazooie, because I do that a lot, I always look forward to it.
Oh yeah, Banjo-Kazooie is like one of the games that I play every year. I always want to spend like a week or a weekend just replaying it 100%, and it's always like a good time to do that.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely like one of those games that I just sit down and enjoy and turn my brain off because I remember where everything's at.
Yep.
I will say one time though, I was playing this with a friend and we got to Click Clock Woods.
Oh yeah.
And we had 9 Jiggies there and we couldn't find a 10th one. We're like, where is it? And so like we went through everything. We're like, all right, we got the sunflower up. We did this, we did that. And then we realized that we never got the Jiggy from the flower. We spent like 2 hours trying to find out what we messed up. And the Jiggy was just sitting there the whole time. And we're like, you gotta be kidding me.
Man, so you went through all the hard work, you did everything you needed to, you ground pounded Gobi, the Jiggy appeared, but
you just didn't grab it.
You just never grabbed it.
Like, we changed the seasons and everything so many times.
For me, I've replayed that game so many times, to the point where I know it like the back of my hand.
Right? It's like you know where everything's at.
Yep. I don't know if it was just me, but one thing I always enjoyed doing, specifically in Freezeezy Peak, is after killing all the snowmen when the Jiggy spawns in, I always tried to do the beak bomb or beak buster to snipe the Jiggy that spawns from inside the ice cube. I don't know, it always just felt so cool to pull off, but if you screw it up, you end up falling off the whole snowman and dying instantly.
Oh no, I agree with that. I used to do that all the time. And I wasn't always the best at aiming, I won't lie.
Another thing I really like about Freezeezy Peak is before you actually even get into the level, although this is more to do with Gruntilda's lair than anything, but before you enter each level, the area or the room that you're in is the same theme as the level you're about to go into. So for Freezeezy Peak, the entrance is an advent calendar, and to me, I always found that to be a very nice touch.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. It really goes to show how well they would melt together the overworld with the levels that you're going to see. Like the music's so well done. Like Grant Kirkhope really outdid himself with that game.
Yep. And I'd say he did a similarly good job with Banjo-Tooie as well, which actually my favorite game of all time. A fun fact.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Despite how much I love Banjo-Kazooie, talk about Banjo-Kazooie all the time, I'm someone who prefers Tooie to it.
Yeah, fair. I really like Tooie. I know a lot of people, like, I wouldn't say a lot of people, I've seen some people on Twitter now complain about, like, the backtracking and stuff, which, I mean, I get, but at the same time, like, they have fast travel in the game, so if you know where to go, and you like exploring, it's a little easier. You just have to remember where you are and what to do.
Yeah.
I haven't played Banjo-Tooie in a long time. I really need to fix that.
Do you remember much about Hailfire Peaks from Banjo-Tooie?
With the big ice cube?
Yeah, with the big ice cube.
Yeah. I remember them. Yeah, what else? I feel like I remember a little more, but like I said, it's been such a long time.
For me, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but I'm a sucker for levels that combine the ice and the fire themes. And that's what Hailfire Peaks does, because when you first go into it, you're on the lava side. There's a big volcano, there's lava everywhere, there's fiery enemies.
Now that you said the lava thing, I remember the dragon heads. I forget what they're called.
Yes, Chili Billy and Chili Willy.
Yes.
The 2 dragons of each side. I remember when I was exploring for the first time, I was on the fire side, and I was like, okay, so this is the fire, but where does the hail come in? And then, as you keep exploring, you'll find an entrance that has like a blue glow emanating from it. And when you go into it, it's just a complete shock, because the whole surroundings, it's all snow, it's all icy, and just jumping from one extreme to the other that quickly. I just liked how stark the difference in platforming was between the fire and the icy sides and how it affected the gameplay. Because in the fire side, you don't have to worry about low traction, but you do have to worry about finely tuning your platforming so you jump over and avoid falling into the lava. Whereas in the ice level, it's probably the more forgiving of the two sides to go around, because there's big snow hills that you can climb up to reach higher places, and you don't have to worry about, like I said, falling into lava. But one thing that you do on the icy side is transform into a snowball, and across the Banjo-Kazooie series, that's probably one of my favourite transformations. It plays into the whole winter theme really well, because the more you rolled around, the bigger your snowball would get. And at one point in the game, I think it made you go into the lava side as the snowball.
Yeah.
And when you do that, the snowball, of course, starts to melt. I can't remember where it is you needed to go, but there was some interplay between the two sides, and that was a cool puzzle.
Yeah, I remember exactly what you're talking about. It definitely sounds like, because I haven't played 2 in a very long time, but it definitely sounds like one of the more unique snow levels, where it like combines, snow with fire, which you've seen maybe a couple games try to do, but this one sounds very intricate in how it did it. Now I have to play Banjo-Tooie.
Yeah, definitely go back to it, give it a shot sometime.
Oh, I'm definitely going to do that. After I beat Banjo-Kazooie, because I have not played it yet this year.
Are there any more 3D platforming snow levels that come to mind for you while we're on the topic?
I do remember the Winter Tundra in Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. It was like pretty much just the overworld of that area. I thought it was really neat because it's like the final place you go before you go to fight Ripto. And I just love the atmosphere, how it's really dark. It has like that dark blue and purple aesthetic to it. It's similar to like looking up at the night sky to me. And the music that went along with it was just divine. You could literally just put that on the TV and just sit there and say do homework or read or whatever, and it worked so well. There was that, and then there was Cool Mountain from Mario 64.
Yep, absolute classic, that one.
I really like, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. Typically, when you look at like snow levels that have mountains, you have to climb to the top of the mountain. You typically don't see many snow levels that start you at the top and you make your way down.
Yeah.
And the way that Mario 64 does it, they expect you to jump off the edge. They expect you to try to find shortcuts. They planned this level out in a way that you could go so many different routes, and there's something different each way you go. And it rewards you for doing that. You can go down the slide and fight the penguin. Well, not fight, but like race the penguin.
Yep.
You can jump off the side and try to reach the bottom or fall to your death. They have that one little island with like the tree off to the side that's really hard to get to. They have the broken bridge. And I really, really, really like that you could also slide down as well. There's so many different ways to traverse in that level that I think it really sticks out because it's so incredibly done. It really goes to show like what you can do when it comes to platforming in snow levels.
Yeah, it's very, very open-ended.
And I think that's what I like the most, is that you figure out how you want to go down the mountain. And there's stars to get down there in any way, shape, or form. I mean, obviously there's the penguin that you have to bring down, which I find very funny that the developers expected people to try to attack the penguin, and that's how you pick them up. Like, instead of like, oh, do this to pick up, it's like, no, just
punch him.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I got him now. All right, cool. But I don't know. I just... Cool Mountain, I think, is also one of the best original 3D platforming levels because of how well it trusts the players, how it really expects you to just figure out your own way how to get down, how you want to go about this. And you can also like make your way back up to the top if you need to.
That's true. Yeah.
It's a little difficult, but I do like that.
I do have an important question about Cool Mountain though.
Okay.
More specifically about the penguin. When you were a kid, did you ever drop him off the cliff?
Things happened. Things happened, and I mean, look, the mom wasn't too happy about it. Have you ever like given the penguin then like try to take it after you give it to her?
Oh yeah.
For the longest time, I wanted to see if she would like jump off the edge with him, and that's It's probably the worst thing I've done in a game.
You know, that's one thing I've never tried. I was never that sadistic.
I was I wonder if you're gonna go after him.
I drew the line at chucking him off the cliff, you know? I've got standards.
I just wanted to see if she would follow, and she does not. Well, now everyone knows that I'm a terrible person, so that's great. That's awesome.
There you go. I do like how they also put a penguin, like, right next to her as well, to trick you into thinking that you can just get away with giving that one to her.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, that's not my kid, but then you're like, well, whose kid is this? There's no other penguins. There's a penguin you race. You know, I didn't think of that.
I guess that would make sense, because it's kind of on top of the room that you come out of at the end of the slide, so...
Yeah.
Could well be that one's kid.
You know, I'm gonna look into that later. I'm gonna go to the Mario wiki. Someone has to know. Someone out there does.
Surely. The stars in Cool Mountain as well, as far as the mission names go, they're pretty vague too. They don't give you much guidance, so I think the first one is Slip Slide in a way. Again, like, that could be anything, and then I think the biggest example of that for me is Wall Kicks Will Work.
Yeah!
What does that mean? Just figuring out where that star was and how to get it for the first time, it makes you feel very smart.
Yeah, I will say Cool Mountain, I think it's one of the more difficult levels to get all the stars, and it's so sudden too. You really had to think. You really had to try out different things to just figure out what you were supposed to do, and I really liked it. I actually don't think I ever looked up anything online for that. I know I did for the one level with the mushrooms. I remember I did that.
Oh, Tall Mountain, I think that one is.
Yeah, that one I was like, I don't know how I'm supposed to get all these, but I don't think I ever did that for Cool Mountain. And then I remember, like, I really wanted to ride Yoshi, and yeah, that was back whenever you believed everything on the internet.
All those playground rumors.
Yep.
I cannot tell you how many times I tried to unlock Luigi in that game. Running around the statue 2,401 times. I mean, I didn't do it that many times, but I tried it.
Right? Oh well. You live and learn.
Yep. It's interesting that you mentioned about how Cool Mountain sort of flips the concept of a snowy mountain on its head with you having to go down it. And I think another one from also a Mario game that executes that concept really well is DK Summit from Mario Kart Wii.
Yeah.
Now, Mario Kart has a bit of an interesting history with its ice tracks, because in the beginning, things weren't exactly great. You had the Vanilla Lake tracks in Super Mario Kart, you had Sherbet Land in Mario Kart 64, and Frappe Snowland, which weren't exactly people's favourite tracks.
Yeah.
Double Dash had Sherbet Land, which was, you know, it was alright. And then in Mario Kart Wii, out of nowhere, they just hit it out of the park with this amazing snowboarding themed course. And I really don't know why it's DK themed. I'm not sure what Nintendo's obsession with giving snow themed tracks to Donkey Kong was, because they did it in Mario Kart DS too.
Yeah.
But it's still a fantastic course. Just the way you shoot up in the cannon right at the beginning, very reminiscent of DK Mountain from Mario Kart Double Dash. And the whole thing is your descent, going down the mountain, pulling tricks off all the half pipes like a snowboarder would, jumping over the gaps to take the shortcuts, and right at the end, you've got a little half pipe section, almost like a skate park, where you've got Shy Guys snowboarding, pulling off tricks.
Yeah.
It's just an exhilarating ride from start to finish.
Oh yeah, that is one of my favorite Mario Kart tracks of all time. It's just so much fun, and the amount of speed you can get to, like going down that mountain, is ridiculous. It's so good. It's, like I said, it's one of my favorite Mario Kart tracks of all time. And I do really like how you can also do tricks on the half pipe to build momentum and whatnot. And also you have to avoid the snow piles, or else you're just gonna come crashing to a halt essentially.
Yeah.
But that is, I think, I think it's the best snow level in all of Mario Kart history. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, no, I'd put that above that. I'd put that above that. Yeah, above that. I think it's that good.
I think Mount Wario in Mario Kart 8 does give it a run for its money.
I do like that one, but I would rather do DK Summit.
So I think I'm in the same camp. I think a lot of people do prefer Mount Wario, and I completely get it. That track, it feels like an absolute adventure with how it's split into 3 sections instead of being 3 laps long. But there's something about DK Summit.
Yeah, it's a ride all the way through. And then you just want to get back on it, and you get back on it.
Yeah.
So good.
I think if there's any more racing game snow tracks that stick out, but I think we've talked about some of the best examples today.
Yeah, I can't really think of many other ones. I mean, yeah, nothing else is coming to mind.
They tend to be very hit and miss.
Oh yeah, and the ones that hit, like, we just talked about DK and Wario, like those two hit.
It goes for a different sort of approach, but I do like the Mario Kart 8's remake of Sherbet Land from the GameCube.
No, where you get to go underwater and whatnot.
Yeah, and also I think on the original version it was pretty generic in the sense that it was just, a daytime snow track, but in Mario Kart 8 they decided to switch it to nighttime and have some fireworks going off in the background, and there's something really special about seeing them get set off as you race through the track.
Yeah, they definitely, I think, improved that level. I did always like it, but it was never like my favorite on Double Dash. But in Mario Kart 8, they definitely like improved it quite a bit to being a lot better, in my opinion. It's a nice level. I like it.
It's a pleasant track.
Yeah, especially with the music and everything too. The music I think fits very well.
Yeah, definitely.
And now I have the Diddy Kong Racing Frosty Village song stuck in my head now.
It's an endless cycle.
Yep. I was like, oh, the music. It's so good. It's so catchy.
Yeah, man. Well, Frosty Village is catchy. This is a bit of a strong arm transition here, a bit of a forced segue.
Okay, I'm ready.
Sometimes games can go in the complete opposite direction and have no music at all, and one game that does that is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
In the Snowy Mountains, the Hebra region, I believe it's called. In both that game and Tears of the Kingdom, it just embodies the harshness of the cold really well.
Oh yeah, especially if like you don't have the right attire. I mean, even if you do, sometimes you're still like pretty cold.
Yep. And then climbing up cliffs, which is already a pretty tough ordeal in that game with the whole stamina meter, is made harder by the fact that you keep slipping off. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of Lionels hiding there, and those are some of the toughest enemies in the game.
Yep. And I do like a lot of the like snow crunches that happen too. It really like works perfectly with like no music being there.
Yeah.
Especially like whenever you're in the darker area where it's like just dark gray skies and you just see like white snow ahead of you, and it's there's something kind of eerie about it, but it's also like you want to go explore. You want to see what's out there. You want to see what's missing, because there has to be something. There has to be something out there. It's eerily inviting because, like, obviously you can't see what's ahead of you, but at the same time, you want to see what's out there. You want to see if there's anything underneath the snow, because there are some secrets underneath.
Oh, yeah.
You want to see if there's any enemies out there. It's such a weird invite to the player. I think that really works in Breath of the Wild's favor. And eventually you do find a lot of things out in the wild.
Right.
Which I do appreciate.
I think it's just so vast and sprawling that when you are walking through, it does give you that sense of, honestly, just hopelessness at times when there's just absolutely nothing around you. But that makes discovering some form of respite, like a stable or a little log cabin, it makes that just so much more comforting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It does it very well. It has that ambience to it where even the smallest things feel huge.
And I think a game as vast, as huge, as massive as Breath of the Wild is a really fitting way to end off this mammoth of a podcast.
I like that we brought it back to the cold with the mammoths.
Yep. Had to sneak that one in there.
Love it.
But yeah, thank you all so much for listening. We always do a little section at the end of the podcast here. So, Sean, you have your own YouTube and Twitch as well. So, would you mind telling the viewers out there about what it is you do on there?
Yeah, so I am WolfKO-san. I make comedic video game reviews on YouTube. I focused a lot on like games from the 90s, 2000s. I do love platformers. And when it comes to Twitch, I play pretty much anything, whether that be a new game that comes out or I stick to a lot of retro stuff as well. But really, I just like to make videos that make people laugh while also being a little informative. Since we actually just talked about snow levels, I released this video a while back, but I did a video on the magic of snow levels where I talked about a lot of my favorite levels. Some I talked about here and some I didn't. The music I like in them, and some snow levels, which I didn't talk about because I don't want to get too negative, but some snow levels that do make me want to rip my hair out because there are some of them. But with that said, I'm very, very appreciative to be here. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. And if you'd have me again, sweet. If not, well, I get it, because, I did try to make that mama penguin jump off a cliff.
No, it's been absolutely lovely having you on today, and yeah, I would gladly do it again. Be sure to check out Wolf Chaos Sorn, the link will be in the title and the description, and make sure you watch that video on snow levels as well. But with that, I will see you guys in the next one.
See ya!